Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force Podcast. My name is Rachel Paskman, and I am your host. And today I am joined by my good friend, Kasey. I met Kasey in Egypt. It's a very big trend on this podcast where all of my guests I've met in very odd places, considering. And I have now brought them on to talk about things that I've learned about them or things that they're specialists at. So, Kasey is a badass negotiator in her career, in life. And so I have brought her on to tell us a little bit about how she negotiates in career, in life, in her personal experiences, and bring it on home. So thanks for being here, Kasey.
Thank you for having me on. And I must say, we had so much fun in Egypt and so much fun in Cabo, and I can't wait for many more trips.
Yes, it's going to be great. We do all the girls' trips, and I love that for us.
Yes.
So tell the listeners a little bit about your background in negotiating, like what you do for your career and how you kind of have gotten to that place.
Yeah, so I am the corporate integration manager for Mungo Homes. I drive and execute the implementation of strategic initiatives across all markets. And it involves making sure the markets are acting the same, negotiating for them, negotiating on behalf of them, and really using our leverage as with many homes as we build to get the best price, best quality, best service from our vendors and build the best homes for our customers.
That's so
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Like you get to play with the big boys and do that all day long, which I love.
I, it's a lot of fun. It's like playing chess all day long.
That I can only imagine. So what is your background again that got you into this? Or did you have like a drive to do this or you kind of just fell into it?
I kind of just fell into it. I started working for a development company in Louisiana, where I'm from, and it kind of started off with somebody saying, "Oh, do you want to go and shop for us?" And I was like, "For these new apartments we're building." I was like, "As a job, as a shopper, I love that."
Done.
So then I was, I've got to use somebody else's money, and I remember this is how old school the place I worked at was. Women still wear pantyhose, closed-toed shoes.
Wow.
And this was like in 2010, so not long
Yeah.
ago. So it was very old school, and I appreciate the knowledge I gained from there. And I remember just, presenting the information and being told, well, you got to get better pricing. And I was like, well, I didn't know I was shopping on a budget. And they
Yeah.
were like, yeah. And I'm like, but I really think that, these floors would look great in these apartments. So I'm shopping for this brand new apartment complex and, shopping for appliances and come to find out that's a job. It's called purchasing and construction. And
Same.
I just had no idea. So I, try to figure out ways to, get better pricing so I can get these products, bundle things in. So I really just kind of fell into it and then I loved it. I loved um, it's like a game and it's so fun to figure out what's important and not important. You know, you're always pushing the bar. What,
Yeah.
how far can I go? Um, so yeah, I had no idea this job existed and there's no uh, degree for it, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
little bit of marketing, psychology. You got to be able to read people's body language, construction, finance, business, engineering, uh, know the products. So there's no one way to just learn about it. You got to be able to know a little bit about all those things. So
I
that's the
mean, and
background.
that's amazing. And how many women do you feel like are in this field? Because I know construction in general is very male dominated, very male viewed. So like you come in as this blonde bombshell, and how does that kind of play in?
It is interesting. It is, I would say, 90% male. And as far as purchasing managers go for home builders, most of them are male.
Mhm.
And most of leadership at home building companies are male. I will say I was the youngest and first female to be vice president of operations. So that was great. I was very proud and honored to get that. You can use it to your advantage. There's also a fine line you have to walk. You don't want to be too aggressive because unfortunately it's seen as being a bitch.
Yep.
So you have to walk the line of I'm serious, but not the line of I'm being a bitch, because that's what will happen if you don't play your cards correctly.
That was one piece of advice I got in the beginning of my career, as they're like, you need to mind your P's and Q's. You have to, as a woman, they're like, anything you say can be taken out of context and kind of twisted around. And it's just, it applies for mostly every field, if you really think about it, because most of them are male dominated.
Right. And I will say what's good also too is you can play dumb,
Hmm.
which is you uncover a lot when you play
I'm like
dumb.
a damsel in distress.
I'm like, so why is your pricing this much? Why does your product cost this? Why does your product not last 5 years? Just explain it to me, because I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
Please
just
tell
don't
me.
understand. Yeah.
Why do you do it like this instead of you need to do it like this? I seem to get better results.
Hmm.
And I also seem to get better buy-in because they have to explain themselves. And if they don't have a good answer, then I'm looking at them again, being like, well, why did you do it like that then? That doesn't make sense. And that works
It,
sometimes.
telling
So
you, damsel in distress.
I think that as a female, we are able to use that to our advantage. Ask
And
the
I love
uncomfortable
that.
questions.
Hmm. And just be, you're clueless, ladies.
Yeah,
They have no idea that you're actually running the entire show.
right. I already know the answer, and I know what answer I want you to tell me. I just need you to tell me why.
Exactly.
And if you don't know, then that's great too.
That is very helpful. I believe it. And you do this all day in your career. How has that helped you at all in your personal life? Like if you're negotiating these large scale deals, 9 to 5, is the skills you're grasping from this helping you after work?
It is, I would say the biggest thing about negotiating is always ask why. Why do we pay this? Why do we use this product? Why do we do it like this? And so that translates into everything I do. Why am I buying this house? Why am I paying for this? Why does the warranty not cover this? There is always another option. It doesn't,
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it though.
there's not a no for me. There's just another avenue. I've got to figure out what that avenue is. And negotiating, and the crazy things I've negotiated is I know that somebody will say yes. I've just got to find that person. I've got to find that avenue. I've got to find that creativity to figure out what it is to get what I want. So
Which
yeah.
is phenomenal. Have you used this at all to like help you in career advancement?
Yeah, absolutely. One great thing about negotiating for that's helped me is I put a dollar amount to all the deals that I negotiate. And then I make sure I'm my biggest cheerleader and I'm emailing that to my superiors. This is what we've saved. This is what we've done. We've shaved, because it's not just pricing, right? It's cycle time on
Mhm.
building a house, it's operational cost. And so I'm using that to friendly reminder, this is how much I'm saving all of you. So then I use that at a yearly review. I'm able to put a dollar to pretty much every task that I do. Um, I'm able to understand numbers in a way. Because it move them around and just say, look, it's not necessarily $1 here. It could be the indirect cost too that we
Yeah.
save. So I've used those in negotiating and salary negotiations and job movings, and
I mean,
anytime
I
I
love
can, I
all
do.
that. Do you have any tips for the listeners on how to, if they're not like selling or saving money a lot of times, do you have any tips for how to kind of negotiate in that sense for your job? Like what do you do if I don't sell anything? So do you have any tips if I wanted to go to my boss and be like, look, I want a job raise, I want a new title, pick me.
Yeah, be confident. The worst people can say is no, and that's it. And don't look at negotiating as conflict. A lot of people think negotiating is argumentative, it's conflict. A lot of people like to avoid conflict. It's not conflict at all. Negotiating is figuring out how two people can best work together and how y'all can both get what you want. I mean, there's absolutely no conflict at all with that. And so be confident in what you do. Know that the worst they can say is no. They're not gonna fire you for asking for a raise or asking for a promotion,
Yeah.
and give the reasons why you do it. Also, to know your market price, know what people in your field are making, have a cost of living calculator that you're able to transpose from maybe another market or another state, and just have all those tools. Try to put a dollar amount to everything that you do. I mean, there's a cost a day calculator that you can put on there. You can make anything have money associated to it, and just show your worth. And I think that that's easy for you to do. And again, all the confidence, practice, like practice with your friend,
Practice in the mirror. Mm-hmm.
and practice with a friend, role play. I mean, role playing is so important because you have somebody you've got to think on your feet. If you do it by yourself, you kind of already know what you're going to say. But if you do it with me, you don't know what I'm going to say. And you also don't know what your boss is going to say. And so it gives you the ability to kind of improv with that. So practice with a friend, practice with a family member, ask a coworker, if they've tried to get a promotion lately, there's somebody that you trust.
Yeah.
What helped them?
No, those are amazing tips. And when you're doing this kind of career negotiation, I'm assuming this also kind of goes into your personal life. Also, how do you negotiate in your personal life? Do you do it in the home? Do you do it when you're shopping, with relationships?
I do. So unfortunately, I try not to, but I can't help it. There's two fields, and I always have items that I say are yield, which is of low value, and shield, which is of high value to me. And so what's high value to me may not be of high value to you. So I try to figure out what's of low value to you that you could exchange for me for my high value that I could get. And so I even do that with, probably not the best example, like the pizza crust, right?
Yeah.
It's not that great. It's of low value. It has too many calories. So I would rather eat the pizza. So negotiate. I'm like, I can eat the pizza and just not eat the crust because that's of low value to me, the high value. So I negotiate with that. You know what I mean?
You negotiate with anything. And I love that. That's a great example.
Yeah.
And what about in like relationships? If you're looking to negotiate with a partner to be like, we're going to come in at a house of 50-50, or if you make more money, or if you like, how do you go about having those kind of personal conversations with a negotiation tactic?
I think you're really sitting down with that person, you're writing everything down, and you are creating a high value list and a low value list. And you're comparing those items. If you're buying a house together, what's important to you? And you're physically, this is of high value to me, and this is of low value. And you see if you have some overlap of, I want a big kitchen, and that doesn't matter to this person. So that's of low value. So you can find trade-offs as long as there's an opportunity for compromise.
So it's always about the compromise at the end of the day, like with a partner.
Yeah.
It's always 50-50. This is why I'm single. I don't want to compromise with anybody. It's part of the problem.
Same.
We're doing great in other aspects, folks.
Yeah. I'm not ready to compromise yet.
No, but you've also bought your own home as a single woman. Like, how is that experience when it comes to negotiating to do that? It's kind of, I would feel like buying a car. You're going in, it's very male dominated, and you're like, no, I'm doing this on my own. All I think of is Sex in the City when Miranda bought that apartment and she's like having to sign everything herself. And they're like, no, you have no one here. It's just you.
Yeah. So fortunately, I bought the home from the company that I worked for and negotiated in my deal to come work for them, a percentage off of the home. And so I use that to bundle my salary, my moving package, and then a percentage off of the home. So that was fairly easy because they didn't get me unless they got all these, these things. But I will say a car. So my sister is, she does title work. There's a better word for that.
That's okay.
So whenever I went to go buy a new car in 2022, this is when there were no cars available. I was asking her, what words do I use? She was giving me some good buzzwords to say. She was like, just throw it in there. They'll think you know what you're talking about. And so she also told me a trick. She said, when you're in the finance manager's office, ask him if you can take a call. And then he'll say yes. And then you ask him if he can leave his office. And you as a female stay in his office. And it'll blow his mind. And I did. And so she called me and I was like,
I love that's the call though. Like she calls. You're like, can I take a
and
call?
I said, yeah. And I said, okay, do you want to step out? And he looked at me in his own office. I mean, it was just, what? You know what I mean? So I kind of set the precedent of like, I'm on the
I'm the
same
boss.
level as you. And you're not going to take advantage. So it's little clues like that, but it's also talk to people that are in the industry. So talk to
Yeah.
somebody that is like, if you buy a home, you talk to me. If you buy a car, get in touch with my sister. Like try to talk to people who are in the industry so they can give you those insider tips about the things that they know will make people move, budge, give you a discount, or, not treat you in a way, not treat you unfairly.
And do you feel like you can negotiate with for anything in
You can
life?
negotiate for anything and everything. Everything is negotiable. Everything.
Because I talk to girls all the time where I'm like, well, no, I negotiated down my internet bill. And they're like, well, how did you do that? And I'm like, well, I called them and told them that I'm not paying after the year mark. They give you the special and then they raise it. And I'm like, that's just not in my budget. I'm like, it might be, but I don't want to pay the $20 extra a month. I'm like, so I'm going to go with a different company if they don't lower it down. I'm like, and they will find a way to finagle or find some other deal.
Yeah. I mean, I always try to never give something without getting something. And that's even paying a bill.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes what I get back necessarily, again, isn't money, but it's service, it's quality, it's dependability, loyalty. So those things are always important to in negotiating. It's definitely not the lowest dollar. It's, you have to look at it as a whole. Um, and being funny too will help. Like you can create your own policy. I have a policy that I don't buy refrigerators unless there's free delivery
I love that.
because they have a policy that says we don't do free delivery. Well, I have a policy as well. And that typically throws people off. And I'm like, you're just saying things with your policy. Well, I also have a policy where, I don't do that. So that can help people
I
kind
love
of
that. I
understand.
probably have like 12 fridges for all I know sitting
Yeah.
in your
I
house
mean, you can
now.
always, create your own policy. And if they have a policy that doesn't go against your policy, and so being funny can also help sort of break the ice, break the mold. And, I always say, who can I talk to that can help me?
Yeah.
If the answer that you're telling me is no, there's somebody in the building that can help me solve this problem. So who is it there? And I don't get off the phone or get out of the meeting until I'm able to solve the problem.
No, and I think that, I mean, going back to what you're saying of like, we can negotiate for everything and with the career advancement, what are some other examples you think you did it with negotiating buying a house? What are other examples that people can use to negotiate in their career advancement? Might it be PTO or an office space, parking space, those kind of things?
I mean, yeah, you can really negotiate anything. You can negotiate, moving packages, discounts, gym memberships, phone memberships, anything that they are, again, not of high value to them. PTO, you really have to talk to people and learn and understand what's important. Some companies, I prefer a higher base salary and little to no bonus because those can be taken away easier.
Yeah.
That may not be what's of high value to them. Yeah, parking spots is a good one. Internet, car washes. I know salespeople who have their monthly car wash membership paid for by the company. They negotiated that. Yeah, there's a lot that can be done. I negotiated dog sitting when I go out of town for work. So to pay for my dog sitting so that I don't have to
That's
pay
so
for that.
smart. Yeah.
That's a cost for me. I mean, they have to stay in a hotel. I mean, they don't, but I do have a girl who comes over and she stays.
Mhm.
So yeah, and that was important to me.
Oh my God, that's so smart. Like, so it's really anything you can come up with that you're like, this is a value and I have to pay for it. So it's your turn to pay out.
Yeah, and Google things, what you can negotiate. That's important.
ChatGPT, ladies, the robot is so smart.
It
So
is.
smart. The robot's so smart. When you're trying to talk to these people, you were saying like you have to like it's part psychology in how you like read the body language or read these different people. Is that just an inherent skill that you think you have, like you're good at that, or is there a way to kind of prep yourself and learn about that?
There's ways to prep yourself. I mean, there's definitely great books out there, how to win friends and influence people, persuasion. It's also to being in the industry for enough time, learning how people make eye contact when they look away, what's important to them, what's not important to them, just by their mannerisms, their moods. Um, I always go back to one where a guy was, wanting to sell his land. We were wanting to buy it. He didn't really want to talk about price, loved to talk about his grandkids. When I'd bring up price, didn't really want to talk about that, but he loved talking about his grandkids. So after like the fourth or fifth meeting, I'm like, are you going to sell this property or not? Like, what are we doing here? I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. He immediately started telling me a story about his grandkids in the pool, and it just clicked. And I said, look, David, imagine you selling me this property, and then the main street is Laura Lane. And then you have Curtis Court over here. And then you have David Jr. Drive right over here. And those are all of his grandkids' names. And he was like, you can name the streets after my grandkids? I said, yes, I can. And he said, let's start the paperwork. So,
Well, there you
like if,
go. That's amazing.
and that's of low value to me. I don't care
Yeah.
what the street names are in a community, but that changed everything for him. And that was just picking up on clues of the price isn't the problem. He needs a reason to sell this property. He needs it to mean something more than just a dollar. And having the streets named after his grandkids was hugely important to him that he didn't even know was possible. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to pull things out of people, and that is listening to them. I mean, people tell you who they are if you listen to them. They'll tell you what's
Yeah.
important to them. They'll tell you they're not morning people, and they mean they're morning people. And when they don't respond to certain cues, that is you knowing what is important to them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's listening. A lot of active listening.
Which I feel like women would be the key targets in that. Like we are the most of the active listening, way
Yeah.
more than men. So how do you feel for women that would want to get into this? Like what is their best avenue? Would it be to, go more into marketing, or is the psychology more important? And then how do they get into this role? I feel like women would dominate at this if they knew.
Really just getting in the construction industry. If you're talking about just construction negotiating, you would have to pick a specific industry because you have to know about it as far
Okay.
as and then getting in the negotiating. I mean, I have a marketing background.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing in construction negotiating. I have no clue. Uh, so I don't have the best route. Um, I just, find that industry that you like. I mean, it could be they have procurement for commercial and all sorts of different industries, but get in that and then figure out if you want to negotiate on behalf of them.
So what is your career goal? Do you want to, you made VP, Snaps or Kasey? Like, is there something else? What is next? Do you want to stay within this? Do you want to parlay it to something else? What's on your horizon?
So my horizon recently, with this role with integration, I'm operating in 10 markets and I like the organized chaos that brings.
Mhm.
I thrive in that sort of environment. But I always say my end goal is to take over Uncle Warren's job.
Love that. You're like, I'm going to take it over and you're going to be CEO.
I always say, I'm going to take this job next, this person's job, then I'm going to take this person's job, and I'll name drop this person's job. I have no problem saying that because it's what I want to do and where I want to be. But the
Yeah.
end goal, yeah, would definitely be negotiating Berkshire Hathaway at a very high level.
I think this is all so fascinating. So before we wrap up with my final question, do you have any tips or key takeaways or points on negotiating that we haven't covered for the listeners?
One good, easy thing to always remember is I can do this for you if you could do this for me.
That's a great tip.
Just keep that in your back pocket. It's really
Yeah.
easy. It's not combative. It's not argumentative. It's a very nice way. There's no conflict. And use that. I can do this for you if you can do this for me. And that's not asking much.
No, not
And
at all.
the worst they can say is no. And then you ask for the next person and the next person until you get a yes.
I mean, this is all just so amazing. And so, I mean, it's so beneficial for everything that we're doing in life and career. So I think the listeners are going to get so much out of this. But the last question I asked that has absolutely nothing to do with negotiation that I ask all of my guests that I do not prep you for is if you could give one piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would that be? A hard one.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
It's a good one. We're so hard on ourselves.
When you're that age and there's so much more to life and there's so much going on, and just be nice to yourself.
I love that. I mean, we should do that as adults too. So we should be taking that advice also to heart.
Right.
I
Yeah,
feel like
definitely.
for every 16, 23, 37, whatever, we all should be doing that. Be nice to ourselves, ladies. It's really what matters. You're going to be your biggest cheerleader at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No one's going to do it for you.
Right.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving the listeners such great tips and tricks in negotiating and how you've parlayed that into so many different things. I feel like they're going to really take out of it things they can negotiate in their career or when buying something or just in life in general. And it's going to be really beneficial for everybody.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, everyone. And remember to tune in to Femme Force. We're on every week. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Thanks, everyone.